Hey, Mamas, welcome back to another episode. I'm excited to have a guest here with us today, and we're going to have a conversation about things that mostly get avoided, a subject that gets avoided a lot, and that is money. We're going to be talking about money today and kind of attacking it head on. And if you're in the Brilliant Mompreneur Society, you're going to recognize this beautiful woman, and she's in there showing up all the time. I don't even know how long you've been in my community at this point, but I know you show up all the time and you're a big cheerleader of other mom entrepreneurs. So welcome, Katie. I'm so glad you joined us today, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Lonnie. I'm so happy to be here. I think it's been over a year at least
Yeah, please.
that I've been in there. And quick like trade secret to showing up consistently. My amazing VA is the one who goes into other groups and posts for me. So she and I spent a lot of time looking at, okay, what are the groups that I really like? Who are the people
Mhm.
running them that I really like respect? Um, and I've left a lot of groups.
Yeah, I
Like
understand
I'm
that.
I'm down to like maybe 5 to 8 that I'm actually showing up in consistently. And I connect with the people, like it's me commenting and things,
Mhm.
but my VA's been amazing about posting. And so when it looks like someone's like all the places, I just wanted to say like that I got help with that. That's like the one thing I outsource. And it's really proven to be helpful because for the first time in years, people say, I see you everywhere. Like you're really showing up. And I'm like, oh, amazing. So I
That's
just wanted to
awesome.
throw that out there.
Yeah, I think that's great. No, we need to know like the truth and the reality, and having 5 to 8 groups to show up in isn't that difficult, but it's purposeful. And it's one thing you can take off your plate, and it doesn't cost a lot to have someone support you with that. I think people like we think it's gonna cost us $1 million to hire a VA. We get this
Right.
idea, but that's such a powerful thing to just pass off and be able to show up and have that feedback. I mean, that's the whole point of being in communities is for people to recognize you and know who you are. So I love that you disclose that. That I think it gives that big picture. And that's the whole goal of this podcast is to give the reality picture behind it. We're not doing everything.
Totally. Totally. Okay. So, my name is Katy Almstrom. I am a money mentor and wealth coach. I have been working with women and their money for almost 6 years now. And prior to that, I was a high school Latin teacher, athletic coach, college advisor, dorm parent, you name it. In the private boarding school world, I did it, and that was about a 15-year career. And
Wow.
so what's really funny, when I first decided to do this work, so many people struggled with my identity change. And it was very much like, okay, we know you. I was also a competitive bodybuilder. They're like, it's already enough that you're like the bodybuilding Latin teacher. Like now you're going to be a money coach. Like we can't handle all of this, Katie. Like figure yourself out. And what I will say is that it made perfect sense to me to make this transition. And what I decided to do was, or what I should say is what happened is when I was probably like 24, 23, I had just gotten my first couple of teaching jobs and I was in this place of, new to the working space, figuring out money for the first time. And it was really not going well, to be honest.
Mm.
But on the flip side, I had this mindset that someday I would be really great with money. And I was reading some books and I was taking some action, but the reality was I was sort of like living in the future. And I was just like, okay, someday everything is just going to work out really well. It's all going to work out for me. I'm going to be great with money. I'm going to have this like beautiful life. And I think that was really great. Like, I'm really glad I had that mindset. I'm really glad that I had that sort of belief in myself. And at the same time, I was racking up credit card debt. I had student loans. I had medical debt. I had a very, very small income. I was spending money like crazy. I thought I deserved to go out, twice a weekend, every weekend, go on vacation. I was in this like bubble of generational wealth just in the community that I was a part of, the job that I had, the place where I lived. And it was all very, confusing to me, honestly, because I didn't see like, it got to the point where I was like, "I don't see how I'm going to be able to get to this place I think I wanna go, doing this job that I loved and making such little income." Like, it wasn't adding up, and I was getting pretty frustrated. On top of that, I was going out twice a weekend. Like, I wasn't taking very great care of my body. I wasn't doing as well as I could in my relationships. I wasn't doing as well as I could at work. And it all came to a head probably when I was about 25, 26 years old. And it was actually my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband of 12 years, 12 years. And I was, like, twirling around in some store, REI or North Face or something, in this raincoat, just saying, like, "Oh, I've gotta get this." And he was like, "What is the matter with you? You're so stressed about money. You keep complaining about money. You don't have any money. Like, you can't put a
Yeah.
$200 raincoat on your credit card." Like, and I was so pissed. Like, this was not, like, a happy memory, or, like, I was pissed. Like, I was really frustrated. And, part of it was because I held this mindset, like, everything's gonna be fine. It's all gonna work out. But I really wasn't doing fine in the moment. And, my husband and I have worked on candor and decorum since then. But, like, I do really appreciate his bluntness with me then. And it set me on a journey where I was like, well, screw you. I'm going to go to the library and find more money books. And I did, because there was no YouTube or anything at the time. And I checked out some books and I found a plan that would help me pay off my debt. And long story short, I took the next about a year and a half, 2 years, and paid off $40,000.
Wow.
And I was in a position where I could do it. Like, I was very supported by my job, honestly, because I lived on campus. Like, I had very few expenses. I was creating expenses for myself, but I didn't actually have a lot of expenses. It was literally my credit card bills and, like, a cell phone. So I really could focus. I had a very supportive boyfriend who did not, was not weighed down by a lot of expenses. And so, he would take us out to dinner, or, but, buy me the occasional coffee. So I was in a very supported, pretty privileged place. And I was able to, like, I had to make the decision and I had to take the action, but I was able to do this work pretty quickly. And to say that that was transformational for me to pay off that amount of debt in that period of time, and subsequently get engaged and then start this life with my husband, after we both were working on these financial goals together, it really transformed a lot for me. It was a catalyst for better health. It was a catalyst for much stronger relationships. It was a catalyst for really showing up at work and doing better in my job. There was just so many things that I stopped stressing about and I was able to show up for more intentionally when I started with my money. And I know there's a lot of coaches out there in a lot of different arenas. And for many, that's why we do what we do, because we had this transformational experience that changed everything in our lives. And for me, it was money. So, way back then, the seed was planted. I wanted to help other women see how game changing just a little bit of money tweaks can be. Because I didn't do that much different. I really didn't.
Mhm.
And it changed everything. So, fast forward, I'm in my mid 30s. I'm getting a little burned out with a teaching gig. I've got two young kids. And to start a business seemed obvious to me. My dad was an entrepreneur. I always kind of thought I'd start a business. Remember, I wanted to be really, successful with money. So I kind of always had that in my head. And helping women with money was like the
Mhm.
obvious thing because I'd already thought about it. I'd already considered that would be a really great role for me. So, yes, I was a bodybuilding Latin teacher, but helping women with money made a lot of sense.
Well, that's amazing. I love the story of how you got to this place. And truly, I think this is a common story. I think what you're sharing is that, when you're young, you're just like, it's gonna happen for me. It's gonna be great. But also I want to live my life. I want to experience fun. And we kind of just experience things and we get into the cycle of, well, I'm doing what I need to do and want to do, but I also want my future to look a certain way. It is hard to understand. And I don't think we have enough conversations about money in general, anyways. This is a topic I think that is kind of taboo, especially in the entrepreneur world. And I don't know if you agree with that, but I feel like there's so much non-disclosure, one, of how much people actually are making and spending, or if they disclose how much they're making, they don't disclose how much they're spending. And I so they think it all brings a lot of confusion and frustration to entrepreneurs because they're like, "Is this normal?"
Yeah, yeah. No, it's amazing. I mean, when I was kind of early on in my coaching business, I had a client who was making a lot more than I was monthly, and yet I was bringing home more money than she was monthly, right? Like the amount that she was spending in her business, the
Mhm.
amount she was just like she would spend the money. She would have a big month, and then basically put that amount on payments. And so it was not only was she spending all the money from that month, but she was basically requiring herself to repeat these bigger months. And we all know, like when you have your first big month, that doesn't necessarily guarantee big months in the future. And these were what I mean, she was selling, you know, done for you projects. It wasn't monthly recurring. It
Wow.
wasn't, a coaching client, something like that. And the first time I saw that, I was flabbergasted. Like and that to your point, like money isn't really talked about. I didn't realize what was going on. And again, I was kind of newer to the space. I'd worked with a lot of non-entrepreneurs when I first started out. I was working with a lot of couples actually here in
Mhm.
my local community. So coming into the online space was really interesting. And I fell for it for a long time too. I was like, oh my gosh, all these people, they're doing so amazing. Look at all this. And the more I started working with my clients and the more I started just sort of learning more behind the scenes, the more I realized, oh my gosh, there's a big discrepancy here. There's a gap here, a gap in knowledge. And I really felt for a lot of these entrepreneurs who were like, I'm doing so amazing. And behind the scenes, they were really stressed, really frustrated, and, wanted to show up and share these results, wanted to be excited, wanted to go celebrate with their spouse. And yet they didn't know what they were celebrating because they felt so frustrated that the money should be there, but the money's not there. Um, and so that's something I've definitely seen a lot lately.
It's just really disheartening to see, like, okay, someone can claim they're making $30,000 a month, but then when you look in the back end and they're spending $20,000 on ads and they're spending $5,000 on a VA, they may be only taking home after taxes $3,000. Like that, I have also worked behind the scenes in businesses, and so having that understanding, it makes me a little more like, okay, can we disclose the second half of this problem of the equation? So yes, you made $10,000 or $30,000, but what was your expenses to get there? And what was your profit margins? And I think that's something we need to educate ourselves on when it comes to business and looking at your money. So I have a question for you, and I want to get your opinion and thoughts on this. And someone who's listening, if you're struggling with money right now, I would love for you to kind of take this episode and just be open minded and think, how can I change? How can I do things differently? So, what would be the number one thing you tell women that come into your world, especially in the entrepreneur space? This is definitely a mom entrepreneur space here. When they come into your world, are you asking them how often they look at their money? What's the most important question that you start with?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, it really depends, but I think something that I like to dig into with all of my clients right away is just like, how is money making you feel right now?
Okay.
Um, because for some of my clients, like they're excited about money. They're excited to make more money. They're really fired up. But they're almost scared to because they're really not sure what to do with it. And, something I've seen is, a client will have an unexpected couple of projects come in and it's like $7,000 in new revenue. And they feel like all of a sudden they have to make 7,000 decisions. And so what I really like to do in that kind of a situation is say, hey, like, let's be open to projects and clients coming in that we're not expecting, right? Especially if you have like a monthly recurring revenue model where you can kind
Mhm.
of, what your revenue is. And a lot of times my clients don't know. And, we get to that point. But if there's unexpected money coming in, where's it go? Like, what are the containers that are going to hold it? what are the couple of decisions we can make now so that when that comes in, it's like, oh, beautiful. I was kind of expecting you. This is what you're going to do. On the flip side, every single time any dollar comes into your business, what does that dollar do? How is it broken down? So when I work with my clients, we say, okay, so for every dollar that comes in, 50 cents is going here, 25 cents is going here, 30 cents is going here. Like they know exactly where it's going. And so there's no question, okay, $7,000 is coming in next month in new revenue. 3,500 is going here, 2 grand is going here, 500. Like they know the buckets, they know the categories, they know the containers and what each of those containers, like what the role is. And that's where it gets so much easier to plan to say, okay, I'm ready to bring on, another couple of hours for my VA each week, or there's this program I'm interested in. I can set, and I've got the money to set aside to save up for it, or like whatever the case is. Maybe you've got more monthly recurring revenue coming in the next 6 months. And so your income that you're paying yourself for your household is going to go up. And that means, your kids can do this other activity. Whatever the case is, like it allows you when you know what's going on and you know what the role of the dollars are, it allows you to plan things out so much easier. And that's where 99% of money stress comes from is when we don't know where money is going or how we're going to pay for things. Like almost 100%. Most of our money stress comes from that.
I agree with that, and I love that you kind of broke it down to not on the $100 level or the $1,000 level, but the dollar level. Breaking down that split at the dollar level means that we know whether I'm making a dollar this month or $1,000 this month or $100,000 this month, I have a plan. And I love that because I think we are oftentimes waiting as mom entrepreneurs until we're making multiple four figures to then have a plan for our money. We're just like, okay, well, when I'm making it, then I will decide. But the truth is, and I, I would love to hear if you see this. I see it when I'm coaching. It if you make $400 or $4,000 or $100,000, the mindset doesn't change like automatically with the money coming. The relief
It
that
actually gets
happens.
harder.
Yes, it's
It
magnified.
gets harder as you make more to put these good systems in place. And I would almost like my favorite, and I don't want to dissuade anyone from working with me no matter where you are, but I love it when I have a client who's, they've been in business and, they know what they're doing, but their revenue isn't very big yet. And a lot of times it's because, they're not handling their money well. And as soon as we get things set up, it's like, oh, things are working way more easily for
Mhm.
me now. I'm much more detached from my marketing. I'm much more detached from my sales process. And so the clients are coming in, but that's another topic here. What I find is that the sooner you start, and I've been doing the process that I teach, I've been doing it in my business since like month one. The sooner you start knowing exactly what your money and your business is doing, and you know how to pay yourself consistently, and you know what you're setting aside for taxes, not my favorite topic, no one's favorite topic, but it
I
is
know.
something that I help my clients with, a little bit. Like it just, you feel so much more grounded. You feel so much
Yes.
safer in your business. You trust yourself with money because that first client comes in and you know exactly what to do with the money. No,
Mhm.
that's not to say, we don't sometimes just say like, "Oh, amazing, like someone just bought this $100 um, product on my website. I'm going to quickly just turn around and use it to do this thing over here." Like, amazing. Everyone does that from time to time. Like, it's okay. We're not perfect. But in general, like you've got a system for your money, just like you have a system for everything else in your business. And the reality is, you can have maybe not so great marketing, maybe not so great sales, maybe not so great, other things in your business. But if you don't have money in your business, you don't have a business.
Yes,
Like you
yes.
absolutely have to have money in your business to have a business. And so we've got to have a system for it. That's just part of our tasks, part of our CEO role as
Yeah,
a business owner.
and you have to take a look at it, and the truth is, this is what's exciting if you can wrap your head around this in a new way, is the more that you take control of your money and are clear about it, the more you can keep it. And the more it will work for you instead of feeling like it's just all slipping through your fingers or you have no idea what's even in there. I had a client come to me one time. She's like, I have no idea even what's in my bank account. She's like, I don't even look at it. I know money's going in. That's all I know. And I'm like, what? Well, that how much is going in? Like we don't have any way of measuring any goals or any idea of tracking what your but what the profit margins are if we don't look at it. And she was just so worried about looking at it. But the thing is, once we start looking at these numbers, we can start keeping more of the money and making it work better for us. So when you talk about setting up systems, tell us some practical things that we can do from the get go, no matter where you are in your business, systems that can be set up right away that you recommend.
Yeah, I wanna quickly just speak to that client example, though. I think, that sense of, "I know there's money going in, but I don't wanna look at it," like, that anxiety a lot of times comes
Yes.
from because I don't know where it's going to go, I don't have a plan for it, and
Hmm.
so no matter what amount is in there, it's like, if you go in and see there's $1,400 in your account, there's immediate sort of guilt and shame because you don't know what it's going to do, and you know that it's going to
So
leave your
true.
account. And so it's like the more that's in there, it can almost, if you're not looking at it, it can be more stressful because it's like, this is more responsibility that I'm not taking. This is more money that I'm not stewarding. So again, like that call to get in there as soon as possible, um, it's game changing for your business. Okay, so as far as like simple next steps to be taking, something that a lot of business owners haven't done when I start working with them is actually separating their business and personal finances. And this is so important for so many reasons.
Yes.
But for
So
me, on just like the practical side of things, it just creates so much less confusion. And it does take away some of that money, sort of just guilt feeling that we have of like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of pulling from whatever account, spending on whatever. Right. So, yes, it takes a little bit of time. It's a bit of a process to set up a business account. And that's what you signed up for, like your business owner. And so
mhm,
this is just like it's one of those things you just need to get it taken care of. So that is one thing, like if you have not done that yet, let's start there. And then the second piece is having a way to look at your money quickly so that you know everything is on track. So I have a tool that I use with my clients that shows them basically what the next 30 days of their cash flow looks like.
okay.
And it's what I created it for myself out of necessity. And it is essentially my 30-second money routine. Like I don't spend any more time than that on my money. Like every month, I do a little bit of a routine, but in the day to day, week to week, it takes me
Hmm.
30 seconds or less. And basically, all I have to do is check that my business checking account and my money flow chart is what I call it, basically like a cash flow sheet, that the number is the same for today's date. If it is, I'm done. If it's not, it usually takes me 3 or 4 minutes to see what I missed, pop it in there, but I can see so clearly, like, what am I going to have available to me in my business for the next 30 days, for the next
That's
week,
amazing.
and it really is because it takes so much stress off if something unexpected comes up and it's like, I can quickly check and see if 2 weeks from now, when that unexpected bill is due, if the money's in my account. And if it's
Yes.
not, that's okay. You can pull from savings. You can use a credit card. Like you can come up with a strategy and just be done with it. Instead of having it hang over your head for 2 weeks, not know what's in the account, be really stressed that you had this unexpected expense, which newsflash happens to everybody, still happens to
Hmm.
me. Um, like, you just deal with it. You just have a way to deal with it. It's like getting an email that someone can't log into your portal, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just another kind of an annoyance that
Yeah.
you deal with as a business owner. So, I know I'm talking a little like flippantly here about money, but that's kind of how I treat it. That's how I look at it in the business. It's like it's just a tool in your business. This is just another thing that we take care of because it is vital to our business being successful. And like anything, it can be scary at first to jump in and interact with your money. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the just exponential power of building a relationship with your money and knowing what's happening with your money is, I mean, it's unreal how much stress it can take off of you, um, at home and in your business. I can't say that enough.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I come from a background with definitely some money mindset issues for sure. And money was very scarce. It was taboo to talk about it. It was you shouldn't be spending it or spend as little as possible. Get the cheapest, most inexpensive thing, no matter if it was good quality or not. Like that was how it was, trained and ingrained in me. And so my fear was there was never going to be enough money, or I had to manipulate the money. And I think what you just said, hey, I'm talking about it kind of flippantly. I've neutralized it. It's not scary. It's not going away suddenly. It's not going to leave me. It doesn't like me or dislike me. It's just money. It's paper. It's a number. It doesn't mean anything about you. And I think that sometimes we have defined ourselves as entrepreneurs based off of the income or money we're making, the amount of clients. But what if it's about what our money is doing for us? Because then that means there's not a certain number we have to make in order to be qualified to be a great entrepreneur. We can define what that looks like for us. I'm a huge, I hate the 10K months mantra right now. It's been going on for a while. And I don't like that because it gives this delusion that 10K means that you're actually making it. Now 10K is great. That's a great amount of income, more or less. What do you need? I don't know. But that's not the thing that's going to define me because I know for a while when I was first an entrepreneur, $4,000 met all of my needs in my family. Like that was the number I needed. And I was so proud of myself. And it was tempting to me to discount that pride because I hadn't hit 10K. And everybody was like, you need to be making 10K in your business. And I was like, but $4,000 is really doing amazing things. So it was almost like this dismissal of pride and gratitude for the work that I did because I was determining, somebody else was determining for me what my money meant and what level I should be at.
I love that you brought that up and shared that because that essentially encapsulates an entire I like the three pillars of my business, right? Connect,
Okay.
direct, build. That is pillar number three is who are you? What is your life? What is important to you? What do you actually need? What do you want? And what is it going to take to like be comfortable, be in a place where you can just really start to detach from the business activities and whether or not they are working all the time, right? So instead of showing up like I need the money, how do we show up like I have everything I need and this is just fun. This is just me living my life. This is me just living in my purpose, serving my clients. How do we get there? And like you said, take away that external pressure to hit a certain mark, right? Um, I very much like you was like, oh my gosh, like 5K would be like amazing. And, but as I was in the industry longer and longer, it's like, yeah, 10K, 50K, 100K. I'm like, hold on a minute. Like this, this is being broadcasted to women who say, I just like want to do something on the side. I'm a stay-at-home mom. It's like 100K months. Like, of course there's a time and a place for it, but it
Mhm.
felt like there was no filter for who we were talking to. And it was exactly that. Like, you are not a successful entrepreneur if you're not at least aiming to make 100K months. And so that's why I so much love doing that work with my clients because we can very definitively say this is the number that you are working towards because this is what we've outlined as, what you would like to contribute to your family, how you would like to outsource in your business, right? Right now I'm in a position where I'm like, okay, if I want to bring on more clients, it's because I want to have more support in the business. not necessarily because I want to hit, 30K months. So it's very intentional because I know what every dollar in my business does. So it's like, okay, if I want to, give more hours to my VA, if I want to have a photo shoot, if I like, what is that going to take? Is it going to take a little bit of savings? Is it going to take bringing on a couple of extra clients for the next 6 months? Like, what's my strategy here? And so when you can look at the strategy and look at your money as part of the strategy, it just all feels so much lighter. And it's so much easier to stop listening to what everyone else is saying because you've got your path, you've got your plan, and it feels good because it's you.
I agree with this so much. And we talked about it on your podcast. So Katie also has a podcast and
Uh-huh.
she had me on and I don't know if the episode's live, but definitely go check out her podcast. When we were on it, I talked about the security number. I That's what I believe every one of us has. We don't need 10K to be secure, most of us. It looks like maybe 2 grand in profit. It looks like 5 grand in profit. It looks different for everyone. But if we can find that number, then that creates a lot of that open space to have fun. And if you want to make 10K months, you want to make 50K months, then you can play because your foundation and security is there. But when we come at money and our business with this desperation and expectation of, well, if it's not doing this, then I'm worthless and I have to keep hustling and burning myself out and being frustrated. This isn't working. I'm not hitting these goals. It just is so defeating and deflating. And I don't want any moms to stay stuck in that mindset. So if you're listening to this, I, I hope you'll let that go and just go look for your security number. So, Katie, how do you help people? Like, what are the different ways you support people with their money? So, as a money coach, what does that even mean? Tell us how you support people.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways. And I'm just thinking about like the last few people that I've talked to are going through totally different life experiences. Um, a couple of people in the last month are recently going through a divorce and they are business owners and they are trying to decide if they should, you know, quickly take the settlement money and buy a new house. Should they invest? Like, what should they do? And so a lot of times I, meet a new business owner and it's life, right? There's life happening.
Sure.
And the decisions they're making in their business are so heavy and so charged because there's so much life happening. And so, in a situation like that, a lot of times it's like, how can we just make business as simple as possible right now? How can we strip back and just do what we need to do so that life can continue to operate without a whole lot of just money stress? And let's look at, like what's happening over here. So I know we talked a lot about sort of like the business piece, but a lot of what I do is look at, okay, what are the circumstances here? Um, is there something going on outside of the business, which usually there is, right? Because we're human. And what do we need to do to really just take down the charge, really make things just feel a lot more regulated? And so, as I think about like my newest clients and what's going on, like a lot of it is that it's the behind the scenes, it's
Yeah.
the other stuff. It's how do we really make sure that we're operating in a way that everything is taken care of. So if there is, something going on, we're not up at night wondering how it's going to get paid for. We know like, hey, it's okay if I need to use a credit card for this thing, or I I've got this credit card strategy to pay them off because those have been really stressful. Like whatever it is, we really just map out what is the next best step for you. For some people, it's like use your savings for something. For others, it's don't touch your savings. For some, it's use your credit card. For others, it's like we got to cut them up. And, like it's totally different for every person. So that is one piece of what I do. Another thing that I do with my clients is really create a new way for them to connect with their money and build a new relationship. A lot of people call this like their money mindset, right? So what I find is that so many people have like latched on to other people's relationships with money. And so that means like the only relationship they know with money is what they've seen. It's their parents' relationship with money, their siblings, their mentors, their teachers, their spouses, like other people, their friends. And because they haven't spent the time themselves to build a relationship with their money, they've kind of just latched on to others. And so the beliefs they have, the stories they have about money belong to other people. And here's the thing, like, yeah, money's just paper, money's a tool. And
Mhm.
your money wants a relationship with you. And your money is like children. If you give your money an inch, it will take a freaking mile. Money loves boundaries like children do. So I've got two kiddos myself. I was a high school teacher for almost 15 years. I know that kids crave boundaries. They like to know what they're allowed to do. They like to push boundaries, but they need that structure. They thrive in that structure, right? If I was the teacher who was like, oh, like you never have homework, you can show up to class late, you can, be on your cell phone. Like nobody would learn anything. The kids who did want to like be in that class would be
Mhm.
distracted, pissed off. Like it didn't serve anybody. But with the healthy amount of structure, with, a fun day here and a, movie here and a missed class here, okay, fine. Like, but with that structure where they know what to expect,
Right.
they know that I'm going to show up, they know that they're going to learn something, they know their routine, like they thrive. Money is the same way. If money knows where it's going, what its job is, right, it's going to thrive for you. It wants that relationship with you. And it wants you to be in charge. It wants you to say, like, this is what you're going to do. This is the plan, and the more you do that, the more you come to your money and sort of have that plan in advance. Again, even if it's, I'm going to have to use my credit card for this one thing, like you priming yourself to say, I know what's happening over the next 30 days with my money. Like you're going to make better decisions with money. You're going to feel way more in control. You're going to just, again, like that stress is going to come down and you're going to be excited. Like you're going to feel more excited about your journey with money because it's yours. It's your relationship, your journey, your boundaries, your money. And I think we all need to find that connection and relationship with money and really make it our own.
I love that. I think that's just an amazing approach. And you're so right. Life and business and all the human stuff, it's all attached. That's when I'm coaching someone in the business, we cannot leave out the mom life and the emotional things that are
Yeah.
going on because that affects us. It affects us. And it's the same thing. And we especially as women, I feel like are so integrated with all the pieces of who we are. They're not separate. And that's why I don't mind the word mompreneur because I feel like I'm a mom. I'm never not a mom. I'm always thinking about my business. It's just integrated into one and the other. It blends together. And the more we can embrace that and be like really truly look at ourselves and what we need and want and the boundaries we need and want, it just makes it so much better of a life that we can have and build for ourselves. So I love that. Tell us about your podcast and where we can find you and follow you.
Okay, awesome. So the podcast is called Messy to Magnetic, and I'm not quite sure if yours is out yet, depending on when this episode releases, but I think it's going to be about the same time.
Just go
So stay
subscribe and
tuned.
you'll end up getting
Stay
to hear
tuned.
it.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, messy to magnetic. And in the podcast, I talk about sort of one messy money topic that I've gone through, my clients have gone through, our guests have gone through. And so that's a really fun one to listen into. And then otherwise, I'm on Instagram at Katy_Almstrom. And I also have a Facebook group, Net Worth Woman, Simple Money Habits for Women Entrepreneurs. So you can check those out as well.
Beautiful. Perfect. And we'll put those in the show notes and link them to her, all of her social media channels in the podcast. So you can go and follow her and hang out with us in the Brilliant Mompreneur Society, interact with her. Katie's always hosting workshops and opportunities to learn more. Don't be embarrassed. Don't hesitate. If you need support, go get it. The only regret I have along the journey of being an entrepreneur and, even as a woman in business and my family and all these things is waiting to get support and saying, oh, I should know this. It's when we wait and we're embarrassed and we don't ask questions and we don't show up for ourselves, that's when things get messy. And I love it. It just kind of relates back to the first story you said, you're just expecting it to just somehow fix itself and magically happen, and then realize this isn't really doing what I thought it would do. And when does it change? And it isn't my responsibility, you know, asking those questions. So don't hesitate. Go reach out to Katie if you need support. Go to one of her workshops, join her Facebook group, and take back your money, take control of it.
Yeah, totally, 100%. Even just send me a DM, let me know what you
Yeah.
liked about the podcast. Yeah, I love
Yes.
chatting in the DMs. So
Yes. And also I tell people all the time, like sometimes it's just nice to know it was meant something to you. It was encouraging to
yeah,
you. It challenged you. Talk to us. It's always a good thing. When you go to somebody's event, workshop, podcast, talk back to them. That's why they are doing it in the first place. They want to have a conversation. It doesn't have to always be a sell, but they want to know it's impacting because that's one of the goals. And that's why I have Katie on, because I know that's a big piece of your value is leaving that impact and helping others create impact behind you.
totally.
So thank you so much
Oh,
for being on
awesome.
today and sharing your
Thank
wisdom.
you.
And thank you so much for listening in. We'll see you next week on another episode.